Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Conversation with History. I am Thekla Wilkie, and we do have a very rare personality. He's very distinct in so many ways, and you'll get to know about him in the course of the program. He's an engineer, he's a broadcaster, and a military personnel. That's a combo. It's like putting a goosey, ogbono, and all of it together. But we will get to know why all of this happened all at once in his life. And we're speaking of none other than a former Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Engineer Chingu Wigwe. It's a pleasure to have you on Conversation with History, sir.
I'm pleased to be with you too. Thank you.
Wow. You know the interesting thing about you, I have been with you for some time now, and I've just been observing you. The way you talk, your command of English, your choice of words. And I said, perhaps broadcasting would have been, because I've weighed the options: engineering, broadcasting, and military. And I believe broadcasting was just it. And it's a good thing you cut your teeth there, and you made the best of your time while you were in the broadcast industry. So it's such an honor to have you here on camera, on set. Now the microphone is on you. I have that privilege of putting the microphone in front of you to ask you questions. Am I not privileged?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So thank you for honoring us, inviting us to your home to have this conversation. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And by the way, our revered Director General, former Director General, is from Port Harcourt, from Rivers State, Port Harcourt.
Yes.
He is also the father of the late Herbert Wigwe, who was the former MDC of Access Bank. And so if you're just joining us, this is Conversation with History, and we are going to deep dive into so many aspects of this great man and, you know, find out what makes him tick. And the question that, you know, begs for an answer is, why would you even, I mean, you started off as an engineer, radio engineering, and then you moved on to television, and afterwards you left the house a civilian, you came back as a military man to your wife. I mean, what would have informed that transition from a civilian who left his house and said, honey, I'll be back home, and then you come back as a military man and say, okay, I'm militarized now. What informed that decision?
I think that's a very interesting question. And indeed, this particular event almost broke my marriage. As a young man, you know, just looking about and seeing what one could do with oneself. My colleagues were going for an interview with the military. In December, it was in December, I think it was December 1962, or December 1961. No, December 1962, I think. So we all went for the interview, and in fact, I think more than anything else, it was to see how marketable we could be. We went there. When we went for that interview, we didn't know what was going to be the outcome of the interview. We came back home, continued with our normal work. And I think I got to the office someday. And my boss did what I didn't quite like. He made a promise to me. And when I was expecting that promise to be realized, you know, he gave it to someone else. I said, I can't work in such an atmosphere. I was expecting something from my boss. Now it went to somebody else. He didn't even have the courtesy to say, look, my son, never mind, there's another chance. I know why I gave it to this person. I felt disappointed. I now started to look for the result of my interview. Why, you know, I had gone for an interview and I wanted to know the result. I found that my colleagues, some doctors, engineers, accountants, had been given offer alongside with me. They had accepted. I had gone to Kaduna. And I'm here. So I quickly went, I left the house as a civilian, went to work that day, and I saw that thing. The thing hurt me in the office. I went to the office, I went to the military office, you know, where I was expected to get the result of my interview. And I said, Mr. Wigwe, we've been expecting you to come and pick up your letter. Your colleagues have been on training for the past 10 days. I said, can I get the letter now? Are you prepared to accept it? I said, yes. And they gave the letter to me. I signed the offer. You know, I had just left the office, broadcasting house, Ikoyi here. As I accepted the offer, they said, now I think you better take your kit so that tomorrow when you're coming to the office, you come in your uniform. And when they kitted me up, I have a little bit of training, some 30 minutes parade and how to salute. So in case you are coming in tomorrow and you meet us in the office, it was very amusing. So I put on the uniform. After the exercise, I said, well, can I go back in my civilian uniform? They said, no, you don't have to remove it. Take it home. When you get home, you remove it. And I had it on, entered the car, drove the car home. My wife had seen me in the morning leaving the house in a civilian dress. And as I knocked at the door, they opened the door. And what did she see? A well-kitted out military officer. She was shocked. She had to touch me to believe that this is the husband that left the house this morning in a civilian uniform. Luckily, I had her mother there. She broke down completely. The mother was trying to talk to her. You know, these young men, this is how they push around until they will hit their breakthrough, and then they will be satisfied and then be steady. You have a young man as your husband, he must be nosing around somewhere to see exactly where his breakthrough will come from.
So, but did you at any time have that conversation with her as your spouse to say, okay, well, there's a possibility that I may want to explore joining the army?
I didn't even know that I was going to join the army. I had forgotten the fact that I went for interview until that thing happened in the office. So I said, look, I might as well check into this office and find out if my letter of appointment is waiting for me there.
And if I may ask, what is it that your boss denied you that, you know, spiraled into you wanting to check out of a profession
I trained in
you
Britain.
Supposedly love?
I trained in Britain, and you find most management positions in industries were military officers.
No, I was talking about your previous job.
Yes, I left broadcasting. So I had had in mind, I had known about what happened to most military men after they retired from the military.
So what did your boss deny you that you gave to your colleague?
Look, it's not everything that is on television, you know. No, it's a particular job. My boss said, Mr. Wigwe, I'd like to send you to that position to go and work in that place. And I'll let you know when the time comes. And then time I say, this is the promise of my boss. I'm looking forward to it. You're waiting for it. He has sent somebody else. I was told. He has sent somebody else. Oh my God, I felt disappointed.
But there are ways you could have put it to say, you could have approached him and said, well, you promised me this. Is there something I have done, you know, to deserve the denial of this promise that you already made?
No, I thought if my boss made a promise, he had a responsibility to me and to himself too, to make sure that he kept to his promise.
We started off you explaining how you crisscross from being a broadcaster to being in the military, you know, and then going back to broadcasting at some point. Let's understand, you know, how all of that played out.
Okay.
What informed you going into engineering in the first place? Let's start from there.
Engineering. Engineering was a last resort. Maths was my second nature. But because I was working in broadcasting engineering department, and they would not recommend me for scholarship if I was going for mathematics. So I might as well put in for engineering. Where I know, and I knew that if I applied for engineering, that would be recommended. So I did. That was how I got into engineering. And I went in and completed my professional training in engineering. Yes. And then when I finished it, I came back home, back to Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. I was with the Broadcasting Corporation, entered their training school, was a senior lecturer at Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation Engineering Training School before I got into the Army. And then I continued my career there. I continued with the Army until the war. After the war, I was asked if I wanted to come back to the Army, and I said, no, I've had my fill. I've had my fill because a lot of disruptions in the Army. You didn't know if you were going to wake up tomorrow, not because God wanted it to, but because somebody else decided to take your life. So I said, no, I think I've had enough with the Army. And I went back. Well, I didn't quite go back to my first love, broadcasting. I said, if I could work in the Army, then I could work on my own and make a living. Went into private business, civil engineering, construction. Went to the Public Works Department in Port Harcourt. I registered as a contractor. And they gave me the assignment, a job, a contract of excavating, reconstructing drainage along a bar road there. My wife had gone and was with her parents in Calabar, nursing, with my little kids at the time when we were in incarceration. You know, Nigerian Army officers who fought on the side of Biafra. So when they released us, and I decided to now go into private business, I said, I think I'll make more money. I was able to put on, you know, putis for 18 out of 24 hours during the war. I stood that stress. I can do it as a private man. I make money for myself. The governor of Rivers State, DSP, came calling, said for me, want to start off radio and television station in Rivers State. Can you help us? I told him, I'm all yours. That was it. That was how I went back to my first love.
Was it really a love? Or was it a decision you made out of some kind of necessity?
He could have called me for something else I could refuse. But this, I just saw it God at work.
Okay, so let's say you know, you just touched the surface, you scratched the surface of that, your experience in the military. We want to, you know, use some really strong broom to punch it and see how much we can excavate from your, you know, experience as a military personnel.
Yes.
Now, it also is also established that you worked with the likes of Obasanjo, President Obasanjo, who was in the military at that time. You were also contemporaries with some very big names in the military, Buhari, Eziogu, and some very important names that have also colored pages of the Nigerian history. We would like to know more about that.
Now, President Obasanjo and I belong to two different corps. President Obasanjo belonged to the Nigeria Army Engineers, which you would consider the equivalent of civil engineering. I belong to the Nigeria Army Electrical Mechanical Engineers. And my boss was a sweet man. He was Colonel Victor Banjo. He was my boss. Well, I was in this business, you know, of my days in the army. I met people like Nzogo. For me, he was a gentleman to the core. Nzogo told you something, go buy it. You can take it to the bank.
You must have had fond memories there. And the way you have spoken about Chukwuma,
yes,
Eziogu,
yes,
you must have had a personal relationship with him.
Oh, yes.
Can you let us into that?
Now, when I was in Kaduna, they gave us an apartment because I stayed in the officer's mess. A 2-bedroom apartment, and then the parlor in the central place. Each time we ate together. We ate together. So I found him very studious. I looked at his books. They are not engineering books. They are not just something about, you know, those were not my type of books. So, Nzogo was a very interesting character. And I was always jovial. I would visit him in his office, know more about the army and all that. So we were quite close because we stayed just in an apartment together.
So what's that thing that is so striking about him? Because in the public eye and in the public domain, he's seen as a demon, somebody who, brought sadness, sorrow to a particular region. And you that knew him from across the room,
Yes.
it would be interesting to find out what your opinions are, apart from the ones you just listed, of that man named Eziogu.
Well, I don't know what they saw in him. I don't know what he had to do with them. But as far as I know, dealing Nzogo with me with Nzogo, purely military, Nzogo was a very interesting fellow.
Interesting is a very pregnant word.
I don't mean the loaded one. I don't mean... When I mean Nzogo was a very interesting character, because he would discuss some of these military escapades, and so on and so forth. I had never seen him angry. I never saw him angry. Next time we'll come back, we'll discuss, and so on. I go to bed, he go to bed. The next time we'll see with me when we return from office the following day.
Is it possible, by the long stretch of the imagination, that perhaps your impressions of him, which of course, is a contrast to what quite a number of people have about him, could it also be that perhaps your impressions are colored by sentiments, ethnic sentiments?
Not ethnic sentiments. I come all the way from Port Harcourt, too. Nzogo is coming all the way from Asaba area.
But you're still in the same region. They will still say he's your brother. I mean, if you see a Sule, for instance, and you see an Nzogo.
I can mention some other people who were friendly with me, not Yoruba chaps who were friendly with me. And, well, not a lot of Hausa chaps because I didn't go to school that way.
So when you hear and read about some of the things that have been alluded to him, when you talk about the history of that coup that happened, that very, very, very historical coup, which of course has his name as a poster boy and the one who the whole thing is tied around. What goes on in your mind when you read some of these things? Because whether we like it or not, history is history and is something that we'll live with. And it's something that would also shape our future. It defines us now, it directs us, and it shapes our future. So when you hear some of these things that have been said in the past and even in the present and possibly in the future, what goes on in your mind, especially since you lived next to him? He was next door to you, a colleague and perhaps your brother. What goes on in your mind?
I just said, this is not Nzogo I know. That's all I said.
Is it possible that he was probably shielding you from that part of him? Because, you know, we human beings, we have different shades. We have different, you know, disposition and perhaps character traits that may not pop until there's a reason for that.
One good thing that happened to me was that I left Kaduna when I did. Because if I stayed any longer, perhaps he is most likely to have brought me into it. But I left Kaduna when I did. I knew nothing about it, excepting when it had happened. And then we were all assembled at the base workshop parade ground. And Colonel Banjo, as the most senior officer in the southern region then, when the coup had taken place, who was available then, was now making an announcement about what had happened in Nigeria, mentioned Zogo as the leader of the coup. So it was just as well I left Kaduna when I did.
Were there ethnic sentiments in your time?
I wasn't involved in politics.
Are you saying there was politics in the military at that time?
As soon as I left my job, I went into my home. I wasn't involved in politics.
Oh my God.
A journalist that you want to get.
Oh my God.
I work with journalists.
Okay.
I work with people like you. What do you want to hear from me?
So what informed the publication you made at that time of, you know, that was titled Wisdom in Silence? What were you quiet about?
But, you know, as soon as I left Lagos here, I didn't discuss anything about Zogo with him anywhere else. It just died here. Because, I mean, if I went out and started saying, oh, Zogo said this and Zogo said that, and so, people will point at me that I knew what was going to happen. Yes, no. In fact, even if you said anything to me, I dismissed it because Zogo was a major, and we had colonels, lieutenant colonels, brigadier, in charge of the place. In Zogo, I would have considered whatever he said as a ranting of an ant, of no consequence. When the coup happened, I didn't know he was involved. Until they called us to say, this is happening, this man is dead, Prime Minister, his whereabouts is not known, Brigadier Ademulegu is dead. I said, my master is going back. And I said, the leader of the coup, Major Chukwuemeka. I said, my God, this boy did this. I was shocked. I was shocked, you know, the courage. The courage. Particularly when you start hearing about the drama, how he went in. So you don't joke with this infantry boys. Because I would think that was an impossibility.
Having listened to you talk,
yeah.
I mean, about Zogo and your closeness to him, I'm tempted. In fact, we'll have to ask this question. Did you have any kind of interaction with the Sardauna? Because we know that Zogo was very close to Sardauna. So if he was close to Sardauna and you were close to him at that time, was there any kind of link or any interaction?
I didn't know that he was that close to Sardauna. Because invariably he told me that most of these senior officers were political officers. If you went to Southern Place in the morning, you would see them in Akadede. Otherwise, I didn't venture into political terrain. I didn't go there with him. I didn't find that I knew him that much.
Anyway, let's move on because we have so many points to touch on. And one of it is the Civil War.
Okay.
Yes. What role did you play in the Civil War?
I played exactly the role I would have played if I were in Nigeria. I was commanding the electrical mechanical engineering corps. And all we were doing was servicing of equipment to the fighting forces in the front, established workshops in the front, servicing their weapons, servicing their communication equipment, and then giving them, making sure they have their vehicles right to prosecute the war.
Did you enlist to serve in the Biafran army?
As many of us as left the Nigerian army here, because you see, you were here in the Nigerian army. You were being haunted. You found an escape route and got to the east. You thought you were in a safety zone, and the war started. You had to fight. The calculation was not to go there and fight. The calculation was run out into safety, and after negotiation, whatever the negotiation came out with, then we complied.
Did you believe in the war?
I had never seen war. I didn't believe in the war. I don't know what you mean by that.
Did you believe in the mission of the Biafran soldiers?
If you run out from here for your safety, and you ran into your mother's home, and you didn't get safety there, you were pursued into your mother's home, what would you do?
So how did the war affect you as a person, as an individual? So we're not looking at it collectively now, we're looking at it as you. You know, you were involved, you saw it. Let's look at it from your lens. How did it affect you? How did it impact you?
Where I was at the time of war, that was not my prediction when I was going to study. At the time I was a young technical officer in radio. I was going to become an engineer. That was not exactly what I expected I would be doing at that point in time. There was some disruption in my life, so to say. I bore it because it wasn't just me, just myself. It was everybody.
Do you think, in your own opinion, that both sides, both parties, managed the war well?
I don't think they managed the war well, but I think Gowon did a good job. Yes, he said, no victor, no vanquished. We didn't see a lot of us executed, but at the same time, activities after the war did not make use of the gains of the war. There were losses, there were gains too. If you came to Biafra at that point in time, they were manufacturing things. If they harnessed that group of those there, I think would have been way up. Rather, we dwelt on the, what would I call it now? Things that happened during the war, the negative things that happened. We didn't look at the positive sides.
So what lessons do we have to learn? I mean, because life is a lesson. We keep learning every day, even from the things we have learned. We learn and relearn. What lessons are there to be learned from that whole experience?
The lesson to be learned is to get everybody integrated.
Interestingly, this whole drum of Biafra is still beating and beating really, loudly. And you would imagine that having done it the first time, with the catastrophe, that emanated from that whole experience,
yes.
You would expect that, everything will railroad into something else. There'll be some kind of redirection on how to move forward. But it will seem some people are trapped in that concept of Biafra. What's your take on that?
If you look at the reasonable people, if you look at the men who would constitute the Biafra, not most of them do that thing. It's the grassroots, those at the bottom. Who is going to lead the Biafra now? Most of the great men are not talking about Biafra anymore. I'm not talking about Biafra anymore.
The great men, do they include you?
Am I a great man? I'm an ordinary man. I'm a pastor, you know. We didn't mention that.
You are a great man. No, we're coming to that. Okay. Now, the Civil War ended.
Yes.
And of course, you went back to your first love, as you said. You left the military where you were excited as a young man. You were adventurous.
Yes.
You saw adventure stare you in the face and you took off. You came back to your first love.
That is always the case.
So, when you came back, were there any surprises in terms of how the broadcast industry has moved, you know, while you were
my old friends
busy trying to hold the gun and, you know?
My old friends received me very well. I think I enjoyed my stay, coming back.
So you had a warm reception?
I did.
With red carpet?
Particularly when they said the television stations were to go back to the federal government. I moved on to the television. Yes.
So how did you get to the position of the Director General? Because that doesn't come cheap. How did you earn it? I mean, there were other contemporaries who could have also become Director General, but they chose you. What, in your own opinion, earned you that stripe?
No, the best person to answer that question would be the president.
Of course, you would probe as a journalist. You would have probed to say, how did I deserve this?
This journalist is trying to get what out of me. The president would be the best person to answer that question. The president would be the best, but it's not a very sweet position, you know.
Tell us about it.
It's not a very pleasant job. I'm sure your DG will tell you the same. But what's still there, it was military. When they take you in there, you're in for it.
Were there times when you leave the home and you have second thoughts about if you return home during your time, you know, as a journalist serving under the military? Were there times when you nursed the fear of something happening to you somehow?
You know, when that parcel bomb happened at Delegi, where I didn't know what to do with this job. I didn't know whether to run away. I was scared for my life. I didn't know what letters to open, my personal letters, which were not to open. I said, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Did you have a relationship with the head of state at that time? Was there any relationship with him?
Not closely, but I had a relationship.
How was
if
it?
I had called me by first name.
In general, working under the military as a journalist, you've talked about the parcel bomb, which is, of course, is one aspect, and of course, it's something that keeps resonating, you know, in the annals of history when you talk about journalism in Nigeria. Were there times when you yourself, because of course, as before you even rose to the position of Director General, you were in other positions. Did you ever feel threatened directly that something bad could happen to you?
That's not for this television.
It's in the past. And you are a 90-year-old man who nobody can do anything to you at this point. Nobody can do anything. They'll say, he's an old man.
Have you been 90 before? No, have you been 90 before?
We've seen 90-year-old men. We've seen 90-year-old men around.
I don't think I like to say it here. I don't think I like to say what I would have said. Purely private business. You're surprised.
Was that a threat to your life, death threat to your life?
Imagine threat, but it never happened. Imagine.
speculative?
But
Was it a speculated one? Did anybody whisper anything to your ears that frightened you to your skin, that you thought of just kicking your bags?
Let me tell you, general managers of stations, they risk. They have a lot of risks.
During your time as a broadcaster, did you experience a coup, and how did you manage it?
In fact, we didn't have any coup until I retired as my position as general manager. It was when I retired that we had a coup, so I didn't have that experience. April 1990 what? April 1992, 93.
Okay, so as the Director General, what would you say were your landmark achievements in terms of reforms, policy direction that impacted on the image and the brand of the NTA?
The brand of the NTA. One of the things we thought about broadcasting is that broadcasting was to lead the direction in which a country may develop. And those were the paths we maintained.
Would you say the amalgamation of the regional broadcasts into the national, platform was a good decision?
It was good, it was bad. Because those days, you have the stations in the regions announcing election results the way they have seen it. Oh yes, this station will announce this result. The other one said, look at the result. This is the authentic result. Didn't you know that? So the amalgamation was, I think, in a way, supposed to really subdue those views and took one view nationally. So it depends on who is handling the show.
Now, going beyond politics, we know that at one time NTA was the only national broadcast.
Yes.
Today, we have several others.
Right.
At that time, we had some core values, guiding and binding on practitioners at that time. Do you still can you still identify those values in the way journalism is being practiced today?
Yes. Most of the core values are upheld by some stations. Some stations, you see, through journalism. You see a journalist, there must be balance. In the news, you meet the sides that are affected, but some could not be bothered, they broadcast anything.
There were so many controversies that surrounded IBB's regime. How were you able to manage it as the chief executive of the NTA, who was like the major broadcast medium we had at that time?
The only major broadcast, yes. Just to pray to God for guidance. We have set rules, we'll just work according to those rules. If you became very personal and sensitive, you pray before you leave your house.
Is that why you became a pastor?
You're trying to get words from
I've been gauging your person. You seem like a happy-go-lucky man, somebody who has a never-die spirit about him. And I asked myself, this is a man who has lost 2 children, your first son, many years ago, and just recently, your other son, Herbert Wigwe, the former MD of Access Bank.
My first grandson passed, his wife along with them.
That is true.
Yes.
But now I'm looking at the first generation, which are your 2 sons. Yes. A man who has lost 2 sons in his lifetime. That's quite a tragedy. And My question is, how did you manage the first grief? I mean, how did you manage the grief of losing your first son? What really happened?
You know, my son, the eve of that event was with me. And I left him, I went to the camp. He didn't tell me he was traveling to Port Harcourt. Because I had warned him, you're going a long distance, you must get the driver. I can't trust your driving unless, of course, you can leave here early in the morning so you get to Port Harcourt in broad daylight. But he chose to go. I don't know, he decided to go in the evening. And nothing happened. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I said, it couldn't be Osita. Because he was very much devoted to things of God. So I looked at it. What else could one do? Could be a test of my faith. The Lord knows where I am in all these things, in all these travails. And he will talk to me on the last day. That's the way I see it. What has happened is that Herbert has gone before me. My first grandson has gone before me. Osita, my son, has gone before me. Indeed, what is happening is that they are praying for me there, that I come their way. I'm hoping to reunite with them on my last day.
Are you looking forward to that?
I'm looking forward to seeing them again.
But you want to stay here longer?
As long as God chooses. But the day He takes me, I'll be happy to meet the ones up there.
It will seem Osita was your favorite son.
I love all of them equally. I do tell that Osita was my favorite. If anything, that was the one I trashed so much.
Sometimes it's the one you beat the most that is your
That
favorite.
is the point. That is the point. That is the point. It turned out to be, he looked like a boy and a girl fused together, because all the attributes of girl he displays and the attributes of a boy he displays. He goes to make a dress, he makes two, my own and his own, the same size. He would leave his work, came to the place I was there at Anthony living with my wife. He would come maybe on the bed with me, discussing that there are things going on and so on. If he has a catch of cash, he just plays it with that. He'll be managing this one until I come. But I beat him the most. I beat him the most. And yet people say it's my favorite. Now he's gone, they say my daughter is the favorite. The same thing. I say, how do people know this girl is my favorite? I beat her properly.
But to think that the two of them went the same way by accident, what do you think the universe is telling you? What do you make of it?
God chose to take them that way.
As a father, did you have any kind of premonition, any sign? You know, as parents, there's just this...
In the case of Herbert, I had.
You did? How?
I've forgotten what happened in his house. I was in his house. I came home. I broke down before the mother. I said, we have lost Herbert.
Did you try to warn him?
Because I got to the new house. I was not happy. It was very ostentatious. I didn't like it one bit. I don't like a child when too many eyes are focused on the child. when it happened. So I told you.
Did you try to caution him?
I tried, but it was too late. Started building that house, I knew nothing about it.
He didn't tell you?
He knew what
that you wouldn't disapprove.
Why is this so? Why is this? Where is this? I just prayed and left. Came on to Luna, we've lost him.
What was your relationship like with him?
Good.
While he was alive?
You see, when you have too many relationships, father and son, and you have it with other friends, that old man, I'm an old man. I lived them in the old school. We are old school. I came and told her. I was sitting there. Lost her. Upstairs, I went to the bedroom. I said, we have lost her bat. This was what I told him. This is what I asked him. He couldn't give me a proper answer.
What was her own reaction when you told her?
She said, no, don't say like that. No. I said, I'm telling you the fact. I'm telling you the truth.
You think it's the eyes of the evil ones that just peshed on him?
One thing you must not do. Don't be the center of discussion. Don't be just keep away from, I don't know how to put it. I don't know what my mother used to talk to me. Says, look, when you progress, when you make progress, even though you are helping people, don't think that people love you. Maybe your father, your mother will enjoy your progress. You better make that clear to you, to your mother, your father. You have some genuine friends, but you never can tell.
Do you think there was any sabotage whatsoever?
You've come with the journalistic angle. You've come with the journalistic
No, because there are so many things out there. And, it's an opportunity for you to correct some of these impressions.
Huh? What sort of impression?
I'm sure you read the papers too about how they thought you were trying to claim his property and then leaving his own children in the cold.
Who can take care of Oba's property? Is it a friend or the parents or the relations? Not relations, siblings. Is it a friend? Is it a friend?
Could it be that he trusted the friend more?
Huh?
Maybe you didn't know the boy more.
Oh my God. Trusted the friend more. You see, I talk like an old man. Who is the best person to defend Aba's property? The father or a friend? The father 90 years? My grandchildren are there? I beg your pardon. How many more days have I got to live? So what will I do with Aba's property? When people tell lies, I'm not abashed. I move out in the public because I know that none of those lies can stick onto me. I'm a simple man from beginning. I trained Aba, I brought him up. Not a single funding from anybody went into bringing up Habat. The mother is there. Habat was born with rashes all over him. Because of the situation, the mother ran away from Island maternity with a boy who was about just 2 days old. We had not done any shopping for him. She knows about all through. What will I do with Habat's world? If they were, all manner of things they were said, Herbert would spend his money on me, put me in a jet, go for your hearing aid. Even was alive. What else do I want? But you see, thank God we have a God. That God can kill and he can make alive. And so I did it with him. Herbert was speaking to me on telephone. Daddy, it doesn't appear I'm hearing you well, or it doesn't appear you're here. Look, you have to go to Spain tomorrow. Go to your hearing a doctor. That is Herbert for you. I don't use glasses. That is Herbert for me. What is it Herbert could spend on me? It is possible those people never took care of their fathers like that. You can see a heart stroke. Heart stroke. I was very well. Just taking a walk here. But for Paul, who was by my side, and for the presence of God in my life, that I'm still alive. If Herbert were alive, he would have flown me out.
Are you still being taken care of?
To some extent. It's as if it were Herbert and I was this ill, he would have taken me out. Taken me out to see that everything is restored.
But are you in touch with the children? Are you in touch with them? Do you communicate with them?
Occasionally.
Do they reach out to you?
They try to influence the children. Come, we're looking after your Father's Day here. Look at your Father's Day. Talking about me, an old man, the father of Herbert. I'm sure he'll be rolling in his grave there. The first one died. Nobody ran after me to come and protect. It's indebtedness, the company and all that. I pay up. This one died because they had plenty of money. Then they come and protect the children from me. They can see the irony of it all. They will change the name of the children to their own children. Sometimes I imagine human beings, I say, I don't know how many people would like to wear my shoes.
2 children.
How many people would want to wear my shoes? You can accept such misfortune. Say, if you can see mother, father, children die the same time when the house collapses on them. But this type of pain I have, look, you know, this is where your faith in God is tested most. If Herbert himself were alive and this thing happened to any other person, I know what Herbert would do. Herbert did not know he would die before us. But if you come, your friend is dead, you read over the parents of your friend. You handle them with care.
But how was your relationship with this friend before all of this happened?
But I wasn't that close to them, but their parents very good. Very good. You know, some mothers, they don't have children like themselves.
What has life taught you?
What has life taught me?
Yes.
I've learned many more in the past 18 months than I learned in the 80 something years. Life. What has life taught me? Life has taught me one thing we had always learned, even in moral instruction. Do good, do for yourself. Do bad, do for yourself. Even all this they have done to me, they will pay for it. There's no getting out of it.
How are your other children coping with the loss of their brother?
Miserably. Very miserable.
So let's get out of that mood. I want you to, talk to Nigerians, the people who look up to you, who, see you as a mentor, who see some virtues in you that they want to emulate or are already emulating. I would like for you to share a word or two with them, and then even Nigerians generally.
What I would like to tell Nigerians, if you don't have God now, I would plead with you to whatever Whatever it you will deny yourself to have God, you have God. He is the only friend you can have. But because in this world you'll go through all manner of tribulations. The only thing that will secure you victory in the end. And the end, we're not talking about this earth. We're talking about eternity. Is God. God sent you to me. God sent you to me to vent out some of my spleen. I think God sent you. I didn't know who touched that side. But God sent you. It is well. But it's been a wonderful program. I don't think I've had one like this before. I've not had one like this before, I can assure you. I don't think I had one like this. I enjoy it very much.
It will be well. And on that note, we want to say thank you so much for being in a conversation with history.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with you. And you've shed some light on some gray areas and controversies that, you know, have no basis from what you have said.
Yes.
Thank you so much for granting us the audience. Thank you so much. And to our viewer out there, we want to say thank you so much for spending time with us on Conversation with History. Until next time when we come up with another guest, I am Thekla Wilkie. And like I'd always say, be kind to one another and stay well. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're smiling.